Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. I'm your host for the week, Nate Weitzer, joined by our special guest, Mo Nawara, from thelines.com. And we're coming off a nice 3-1 night here on Tuesday. Only the Bucks spoiled the sweep as they did get over 120 in a beatdown of the Hornets. Moving on to a 6-game slate here on Wednesday. Kind of a weird leap year situation, Mo, where there's more games on Thursday than Wednesday coming up. But we got plenty to choose from here. And as always, like and subscribe. We're bringing you these videos every single weekday through the regular season and postseason. Head to thelines.com for all the best odds and best articles on your money here. Mo, what is your first pick for this 6-game slate?
First one I went with the Pelicans plus 5.5. I was a little surprised how large the spread was. I know it's a tough spot here because they are playing a high-paced team on the back half of a back-to-back after beating what was left of the Knicks yesterday. I don't think they went that hard in that game. I think if they played hard in that game, they probably could have won it by 30. They kind of just treaded water until the fourth quarter and then finished blowing out the Knicks with a dominating fourth quarter. They won by 10 or something like that. I don't think they expended a ton of energy in that first game. I know that the Pacers are a tough team to play on a back-to-back because they are the highest paced team in the NBA, but I just still can't get this high on the line. I mean, this line is basically telling me these teams are about even. I can't really get there. There's more than 3 points of differential between these teams. So I'm not seeing how the line should be this high. I thought it should be closer to like 3. I know CJ McCollum is out here, but he's been part of a lineup for the Pelicans that just like hasn't done any damage for them, really. This starting lineup is just meh. And CJ himself is like roughly even differential on the season. So, they plugged in Trey Murphy for the game yesterday. He went bananas. So as long as Trey Murphy can be healthy and productive, he honestly might be a better complementary piece to Zion and BI than McCollum. I know McCollum has the spacing aspect, but Trey can shoot the ball obviously too, and more helpful on defense and doing other things. So I went with the plus 5.5 here.
Yeah, I mean, and a better two-way player is Trey Murphy for sure. Not the same Pacers team that we've seen earlier in the season in terms of pace and space with Siakam in there. I was actually going to hit this same idea here, but just to take the Pelicans on the money line because they're so up and down. It's like they could easily lose by 15. They could easily win this game by 15. It doesn't seem to matter any sort of trend with them. They're just a complete yo-yo team. But you do like the fact that they got some rest, that Zion played less than 30 last night because the Knicks were shorthanded, and Ingram getting over a little bit of an illness. Like he could have a big game against this Pacers front court, which is just pretty woeful defensively, and they can do a good job throwing different guys at Halliburton, who still doesn't seem to be fully right. So, yeah, I like the look there. I'm going to go with the Mavs here for the first pick. They are also on a back-to-back. Spread creeping up -2.5 right now. Slight chance Luka doesn't play as he's dealing with the face and the ankle injury, whatever. But I mean, nothing to indicate that he's going to sit. And if he does, I mean, Kyrie is carrying right now. I mean, he's been fantastic when he has to, when Luka's out or limited in any way. And the Mavs are deep. This is like a direct Jason Kidd quote. Is like, we have depth for the first time in years. And he has different guys to throw at. Specifically, he has actual defenders to throw at teams with Gafford and Washington now in the mix. So their last 9 overall, they're 4th in opponent field goal defense, 7th in free throw attempts, last 6 with the bigs, 8th in defensive rating overall and defensive rebounding, 4th in opponent's paint points. And you're facing a Raptors team that I don't think we can buy into at all, despite the fact that they've won 3 straight here out of the All-Star break. I mean, basically beat the Hawks with Trey getting injured mid-game, which is just completely throw a wrench in that. They beat the Pacers, who were on a back-to-back, and Halliburton basically couldn't go full speed. And they beat the broken Brooklyn Nets. You look at their last 8 overall at home, offensive rating of 109. They're 2-6 straight up. In February, they are bottom 5 in paint points, second chance, defensive rating, second worst 3-point attempts allowed, which, for Dallas, if Luka on back-to-backs, his usage dips, but he hands out 11 assists per game. He's just going to be spraying the ball all over 4 shooters that they have all over the court here. Kyrie, he's only played 3 back-to-backs, but he's shooting 46% from 3, getting 27 points a game. So, like I said, he will pick up the slack. And Jakob Poeltl is questionable. They've lost 9 of their last 11 without him, have the Raptors. So I think they'll be pretty woeful defensively if they don't have him as well.
Yeah, I do like some Mavericks things. We'll talk about that later with player props. Luka, I guess my main concern here would just be the minutes that Luka and Kyrie played in the last game. They rode them very hard, 40 minutes apiece. But yeah, Poeltl makes a big difference for Toronto. He gives a very large boost to their defense compared to when he's off the court, and that was even more true last year. So, basically a multi-year sample of their defense being much weaker without Poeltl. So I think that's pretty bad. I wouldn't expect him to go. So that's huge in this spot. And yeah, that would be my main concern, would be the minutes. If Luka and Kyrie are exhausted since they played so many minutes and took so many shots, I think it was like 24 and 29 for them. So, yeah, I don't think Toronto is much either, though. I'm with you there. So, I thought this line was like pretty fair. But yeah, if Luka goes and he plays well, the Mavs should probably cover this.
Yeah, and I will say on that note that the last back-to-back for the Mavs, Luka and Kyrie both played combined for 71 points, and they rolled again the broken Brooklyn Nets. So take that with a grain of salt. But I mean that they're at least willing to ride those guys on back-to-backs. Like, they don't have much wiggle room in the standings here. Now drop down to 8th with back-to-back losses, and Golden State charging on them. So yeah, that's part of the motivation there. And what do you got here for our second pick of the day for you?
So I went with the Nuggets -7.5. They do come into this one in a good spot situationally, unlike the Pelicans. So they have an extra day of rest here versus Sacramento. Sacramento, neither team is back-to-backing, but Sacramento is playing their 3rd and 4, and the Nuggets have 2 days of rest. And when you're talking about the Nuggets home court specifically, especially, I think these small things can be a little bit magnified in those spots. They've really struggled with the Kings this year, though. The Kings have swept them so far, won all 3 matchups. But, Jamal Murray missed one of those, and 2 of them, I mean, one of them was in December, so I'm not too worried about it. But they do seem to have some trouble with the Kings so far. But the Nuggets, I watched that game against Golden State. They looked good, man. I think that they've kind of been going 80% speed this year, and they might be picking up some steam second half of the season as they get ready for the playoffs. I thought they played much better against the Warriors, and the Warriors have been playing legitimately good ball. And the Nuggets just carved them up, especially in the second half. Just a machine running their stuff, and yeah, the Dubs didn't have much of a shot. And you have De'Aaron Fox here, also a little bit banged up. I mean, I can only assume he's going to go, but given the situational spot, and this line basically saying the Nuggets are maybe a couple, 2-3 points better than the Kings, I think that's a little shy, man. I really think the Nuggets can turn it on when they want to, and are starting to round into better form here. I agree with the futures markets, which still think the Nuggets are one of, if not the strongest team in the West with this starting lineup. So as long as Murray is good to go, which he seems fine at this point, I do like the Nuggets a bit here. I thought this line should have been honestly closer to double digits. I know that sounds a little bit crazy, but they do have a nice situational edge, and the Nuggets are a better team than the Kings. I mean, the Kings have a negative differential on the season. This team is confounding my futures bet here, which I did fire Kings no playoffs, which I think is a very good bet. And yeah, I should be in better shape than I am, but still got a shot.
Yeah, I mean, the spread already seems kind of big to me. I don't know if I agree with that with the plus 10. Like, I think the Nuggets win this game, but I think the Kings are going to hang around here. I would look at maybe some of the player performance doubles. Like you said, Murray, it seems like the market's a little low on him because he was dealing with the soreness, but for him to have 20 in a win is even money at FanDuel. That seems like a better way to game this than the spread. Maybe the Nuggets could easily pull off the revenge here after back-to-back losses to the Kings. Both were situational, though, like totally going into the All-Star break on cruise control, asleep, and then yeah, I do see the narrative where they come back and lay the smackdown on the Kings at home. So I could see it. I think the 7.5 is kind of big in my opinion. But last pick for me, Lakers. Let's say half the unit here between the money line plus 135 and the Lakers to just score 117 on this Clippers D, which is struggling right now. Clippers in February allowing 118 a game, and they just lost Paul George. And in their first game without him, they gave up 123 to these Kings, who were kind of struggling, and just were absolutely crushed in terms of offensive rebounds, paint points, Domantas Sabonis stuff, and now Anthony Davis. I like to just kind of continue that with the Lakers on a 2-day rest situation. AD has been great. I will put him in player props here to go score 25 in the win for the Lakers. The Clips have a 121 defensive rating now in 4 without PG this season. Overall, I mean, even with him, they were allowing the 5th most OREBs in February, bottom 10 in terms of 3 points allowed. The only teams to go below 117 against them, the Grizz, the Pistons, and the Heat. So that tells you what you need to know here. The Lakers are obviously playing much better than those teams on offense. They can speed it up here on 2 days rest. This season, they're plus 6.2 to the over when they have that extra rest. They're averaging 120 with or without LeBron since the start of January, averaging 125 in their last 6 at a 101 pace. So I think they'll kind of dictate that pace a little more, try to speed it up with LeBron and AD getting some extra rest, and just be able to score on this Clippers team that the defense is just not going to be the same without PG, because not only does that take away a key wing defender, it makes Kawhi do more on offense. He has less energy for defense, etc. It's just kind of a domino effect where I think the Clips are really missing him, going to miss him on that end.
Yeah, really interesting matchup here with no Paul George. I thought the line was pretty fair, but I could see where you're coming from on this one with the defense, because the Clippers just have not a lot of size, and not a lot of size, and the size they do have isn't all that imposing. I don't think Zubac is scaring anybody, and I think we're going to get some more Russell Westbrook minutes here, so that plays into your favor here, both in terms of pace and Clippers defense, I think. And then similar with Norman Powell, I don't think he's a very impressive player on defense. Played a ton of minutes in the last game, basically taking Paul George's place in the starting lineup, and a guy who likes to run as well. So I do think the Lakers, I could see this one seeing some points for sure. There could be some lineup things happening for the Lakers as well. It looks like Cam Reddish might play. That would be bad, I think, but probably not that many minutes. So it should be all right for you.
Yeah, they're using Rui a lot more, which has been great for them on both sides. And Dinwiddie, even though he hasn't been scoring, has been a nice stabilizing force for them. Yeah, good point mentioning Powell, because he is not the same kind of defender as Paul George by any means. So if you like the game total, it's moved down a little bit, down to 235. You could take that and just trust that the Clippers are also going to score here. But in any case, that's all we have here for you in Best Bets. Check out the player props, which is also up today, and it will be up each and every weekday. Until we see you next, happy betting.